This footage appears to be captured on an older phone, the grainy camera quality giving everything a distorted, unsettling feel. But that rough look somehow makes the entire moment even more disturbing. The person filming moves through what looks like an abandoned building, opening and shutting doors to prove the place is empty and free of anyone else. They push open the first door, take a quick glance inside, then close it again before heading toward another one farther down the shadowy hallway, unaware that the real haunting hasn't even begun. As the recording continues, they open the second door and step into a bare, echoing room, each footstep bouncing off the cold walls like a warning. Inside that room sits another door, much older and heavier, almost like it belongs to a different part of the building entirely. When they get close, a sudden explosive bang rips through the complex, sounding like something slammed a wall or struck an object with force, hinting at real paranormal activity. The camera jerks, but they keep filming and reach for the handle anyway. When they pull the door open and then shut it fast, it seems to push back for a moment, resisting, as if a demonic presence on the other side didn't want it closed. And when they turn the camera around, you can barely make out a faint figure lingering in the far corner of the room they had just been standing in, subtle but undeniably there. Whatever that ghostly shape was, it had no business being in that hallway and certainly wasn't a welcome guest in that abandoned building. A man was relaxing at home late one night, casually watching TV, when he decided to start recording because something unsettling had begun happening around him. The overhead light in his living room kept blinking on and off in slow, steady intervals, almost as if something was trying to send a signal from the other side.
Vean cómo empezó a ser el foco de mi recámara. Prende y se apaga. No sé qué pasó. Estoy viendo la tele y de repente no sé qué pasó, se apagó la luz. Otra vez apagó la luz. Voy a buscar la linterna. Ah, se apagó la tele. Aquí está la linterna. ¿Qué está pasando? No, 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 no mames, no mames. ¿Qué es eso? Por Dios, ¿qué es eso? Se apagó. Mi celular, mi celular. Oh, mi celular. Oh. Traigo mi celular. Mira. Está prendido. Está prendido ya. Está prendido ahí abajo. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? Se prendió la luz. Se está apagando la luz. Se está prendiendo la luz. Ya. Vámonos.
He aimed his camera toward the TV, speaking nervously as both the television and the lights suddenly shut off at the exact same moment, dropping the entire room into complete silence. With his hands shaking, he grabbed a flashlight and called out, asking what was happening. Right then, the door across from him creaked open on its own, revealing the dark silhouette of a woman-shaped figure standing in the doorway. The figure didn't move, but its presence alone sent a surge of fear straight through him. After collecting himself, he slowly turned away and headed downstairs, with only the flashlight to guide him. His breathing grew louder as he picked up speed, eventually bursting out the front door and racing into his car. He ended the recording, saying he had no plans to step foot back inside that house for at least a week. A couple unknowingly moved into what would later be revealed as a haunted Airbnb. From the very first day they settled in, strange things started happening one after another. Whispers drifted through the hallways. Objects slid or shifted when no one was anywhere near them. Cold spots drifted from room to room, and every so often, the clear sound of footsteps echoed from the basement, even though no one lived below. But the moment that convinced them to begin documenting the paranormal activity occurred on October 23rd at about 6:10 p.m. The wife and their dog Vito were downstairs when they both froze at the exact same moment, hearing movement coming from the upper floor. Vito bolted up the stairs ahead of her, but the second he reached the top, he recoiled sharply at something they couldn't see, something that shouldn't have been there at all.
Vito, come on. Come on back, buddy. Come on. Poor buddy.
According to the wife, Vito has refused to go past the top step for weeks now, and anyone familiar with paranormal cases knows that animals reacting like this is never a good sign. Dogs avoid areas with strong spiritual pressure, and whatever is lingering upstairs clearly makes him uncomfortable. But here's the strange part. While the husband is exhausted, stressed, and worn down by the nonstop haunting, the wife remains strangely composed. She insists it's because this is his first time dealing with the supernatural, but for her, these things have happened ever since her mother passed away a decade ago. She's been on a long spiritual journey since then, visiting mediums, trying communication methods, and opening herself to all forms of the supernatural in hopes of feeling her mother's presence again. And that's exactly where the major debate started. Many people think this haunting might not be connected to the Airbnb at all, but to her directly. When someone opens themselves spiritually, especially through grief-driven sessions or amateur spirit communication, it's widely believed they may invite things they never intended, entities that mimic familiar emotions just to gain attention. Now the rumors have shifted from a haunted rental to a ghost or spirit, possibly attached to the wife, and the timeline matches disturbingly well. The couple eventually moved to a new house, hoping distance would solve everything, but it's starting to look like something may have followed them there too. Listen closely.
Okay, if you have anything to tell us, we're listening. We heard you. What do you have to say?
She captured this voice on camera while she and her husband were taking their dog out for a walk. Some viewers were horrified, urging her never to respond to whatever was calling out. But she says not every presence is demonic, and she believes some spirits simply want to be acknowledged. She's taken it upon herself to figure out what kind of ghost is in her home, why it's there, and whether she can help it move on peacefully. But here's what no one can ignore. If all of this began long before the Airbnb, then moving out was never going to stop the haunting. The attachment might be to her, not the property. Weeks after the first recording, the whispering didn't fade. If anything, it became more frequent.
So we're open to communication. There's been stuff happening on the property in our other building, and earlier today. So this is the time to talk if you have anything you want to say to us. You're getting tons of orbs.
Mm-hmm. And it's right where you said, like right here. Are you?
Tell us your story. We're open to hear. And we're not judgmental. You can tell us anything.
This time she couldn't make out exactly what the voice said, so she uploaded it online. Surprisingly, most viewers heard the same thing, a soft whisper saying, Maisie. Every other sound recorded in that house had been distorted, confusing, or too unclear to understand. But this was the first time a name came through clearly. Whether Maisie is the spirit trying to communicate, someone connected to the wife's past, or a completely different entity, they still don't know. And now they're hoping that one day they'll finally uncover the truth behind the haunting that has followed them from one home to another. A man moves cautiously through what appears to be a cramped storage corridor. Every box and every shadow seems heavy, like each one hides its own haunting secret. You can tell he's already unsettled as he sweeps the camera across the tight space, trying not to miss a single corner. He suddenly freezes when he spots a door that should never be cracked open during any paranormal investigation, sitting slightly ajar in a way that makes the whole hallway feel wrong. And he slowly leans forward to check behind it, even though no one from his team is anywhere near him.
La puerta se abre y se cierra sola.
Se está abriendo esa puerta. No hay nadie. Y por acá también se escucha ruido.
He notices the door shifting just enough to form a small gap, so he pulls it open farther and looks behind it, only to find absolutely nothing. As he turns away, the door slams shut on its own, and a strange, unsettling noise begins echoing from behind it, pushing him into a quick, shaky walk down the hallway. The instant that door hits the frame, his entire body stiffens because whatever that was, it was no draft, and it certainly wasn't timing. The noise that follows sounds like something trying to force its way through the wall, as if a supernatural presence wants to remind him he is not welcome in this building. His careful steps turn into a silent, urgent power walk, the kind someone makes when fear takes over, but they don't want to alert whatever's behind them. Every few seconds, he glances over his shoulder, almost certain that the door will burst open again. Moments like this show exactly why investigators always warn that curiosity has limits. Because when the location starts responding on its own, that's when you learn just how fast fear can move through a haunted place. This clip was captured on a man's indoor security camera, and what he discovered afterwards still leaves him shaken every time he watches it back. Take a look.
You want to see something weird? I have the blink camera in the Poltergeist attic. Now I know that nobody is home. I check back on the footage and I see a light turn off downstairs. But there's nobody home. Nobody home. Nobody home. Very weird, but a very, very good capture. Check this out. I mean, people could be like, oh, well, there was somebody down there. And I wouldn't post something like that, right? This is crazy.
You can clearly hear the distinct sound of the light switch being flipped, that sharp, crisp click that only happens when a physical hand touches it. Your first instinct might be to assume an intruder, right? Someone quietly roaming through the house without his awareness. But that idea falls apart fast when you consider the other things he's shared about his home. Objects have moved on their own with no logical explanation. More than once, items have dropped onto him as if shoved by an unseen force. And on several occasions, faint laughter, soft, playful, and absolutely not human, has echoed from this exact room. People who reviewed his older videos pointed out something even stranger. Odd, vintage-looking dolls and toys scattered around the space, a few with faces that appear strangely worn or unsettlingly distorted. He's never spoken about where they came from, but many viewers suspect one of them might be connected to the supernatural activity inside this room. So when you put all of it together, the laughter, the objects moving, the creepy toys, and now a light switch flipping on its own, the intruder theory becomes the least convincing option. It feels far more like a ghostly presence has claimed this space as its own, something that didn't mind being heard, and now no longer fears being seen. But I'll leave the final judgment to you. What do you think he's dealing with? Nick and Ted from the YouTube channel The Hunting Public were bow hunting deep on public land in the remote Missouri wilderness when something chilling cut through the trees. Before I go any further, let me make this clear. Just as YouTube requires, there is no indication that any crime occurred in this footage, and there is no evidence that anyone was harmed. All right. With that said, while the two are hunting, A loud gunshot echoes through the woods, immediately followed by a shocking, unexplainable scream that stops them cold. They grab their camera instantly and begin recording what might be one of the most unsettling moments they've ever experienced outdoors. Nick and Ted are so far out in the Missouri backcountry that they don't have a single bar of cell service. They can't call anyone for help, so all they can do is listen to whatever is happening around them.
I keep getting chills all down my back. Yeah. Somebody is screaming at the absolute top of their lungs over there. Very not good obscenities to someone else. I've never witnessed anybody screaming like that. Yeah. Something not good's going on. He's saying somebody else.
Nick keeps trying to call for assistance, but no matter where they walk, they can't find a single spot in the forest with a signal strong enough to report the incident.
We ain't got any service in here, so can't call the police and tell them to go over there and see what the heck's going on, but sound like something off a dang horror movie over there. I mean, it sounds like a guy that's absolutely losing his mind over there. Completely.
At this point, both Nick and Ted are completely rattled. They decide their safest option is to get back to the truck, leave the woods immediately, and contact law enforcement once they reach an area with service.
I've heard some stuff that I feel needs to be reported to the police department.
Okay.
I was hunting, me and a buddy were hunting, and at about 6:45, we heard gunshots, which is not uncommon. But then for 30 minutes straight or so, there was lots of screaming and just people, obscenities, and it sounded like something really bad was going on over there, and there was 20 or more gunshots ended up happening. I have pins dropped on a map about how far we were from where we think this was occurring. We didn't know what to do, and we had no service, so we're trying to report and see if anything had been reported about there.
A few days later, Nick and Ted return with an update about what happened after their terrifying encounter out there in the wilderness.
So after that hunt, you can see we alerted proper authorities, and the days following that event, I had some contact with the state game warden, and they told me that they found nothing on this situation, and they went in there, and there was nothing to be found.
Even though they reported everything to authorities and even provided exact GPS coordinates, nothing was found at the site. There was no evidence at all that anything violent or unusual had taken place in that area.
You know, it freaked us out, and, you know, we really got unsettled by it, and we weren't scared that, you know, someone wasn't coming after us, but we had heard something that it could have been. You know, your mind goes to think about what could that be, and, you know, I immediately go to worst case scenario.
So what exactly did they hear? Was it just someone in the woods having an emotional meltdown, or randomly firing a gun at a stump? Or was it something far darker, something that can't be explained so easily? You decide. For the full experience, check out the original video on The Hunting Public. Two men were relaxing inside a house late at night when they both heard movement coming from the hallway. One of them pulled out his phone and began recording, hoping to prove they weren't just imagining the strange noise. At first, the video is quiet, only the two of them whispering and trying to figure out where the sound came from, until they notice a door at the end of the hall slowly drifting shut on its own, as if someone on the other side was gently pushing it closed.
Hola. Hola, hola.
No, mames, güey, hasta huele raro, güey.
No, mami,
La puerta.
No,
No seas mamón, Chris.
No,
A ver.
no, ábrela tú, güey.
A ver, güey. Oye, güey, chistaron, güey, ¿eh? No mames.
No mames, güey.
A ver, explícame esto.
They both start inching toward the hallway, the man holding the camera staying a step behind his friend, as the door pulls itself almost completely shut before they reach it. The first guy hesitates, waiting to see if it will stop, reopen, or move again on its own. When nothing happens, he places his hand on the door and pushes it open in one slow, careful motion. The room behind it is totally empty. No person inside, no breeze, no windows open, nothing that could explain the movement. They stand there in total silence, staring into the vacant doorway while the entire house goes still, almost as if whatever closed the door didn't want to be seen. Later, they begin recording again, this time in the kitchen, because after witnessing the door incident, they both agreed the paranormal activity in the house needed to be documented. They try to act normal, talking quietly and scanning corners, when something at the far end of the room grabs their attention.
Mucha atención a lo que está a punto de suceder con el adorno en esta casa del Poltergeist.
De las niñas, vengan por acá, güey. O sea, sí está perro, güey. La neta, aquí estar en este rollo, güey. Y sí se siente pesadísimo, güey. Muy, muy pesadísimo, güey. ¡Ay,
¡No
cabrón!
mames!
¿Sí viste, güey?
No te pases de lanza, güey.
¿Sí vieron, güey? ¿Qué se cayó?
No mames.
Güey, ¿qué se cayó, güey? ¿Qué se cayó, güey?
Fui, güey.
No mames. Ah, la madre. Yo, ¿sabes que me asusté, güey?
Oye, cabrón.
Pensé que era una...
Through an open interior window that looks into the next room, a dark face suddenly rises into view for barely a second, like someone peeking upward from below the frame, before dropping out of sight again. Both men freeze instantly, whispering in shock as they rush closer to check behind it. But when they lean over the counter and look into the other room, there's nothing. No furniture someone could crouch behind. No shadows matching the shape. No way any person could have moved out of view that fast. The window frame is wide open, empty on both sides. The way that face appeared and vanished gives the same chilling feeling as the door shutting earlier, like something supernatural inside that house is watching them, choosing to reveal itself only when it wants to.